I will tell them, yes, Cathy is my boss. She is also my spouse. And people will start to, I'll see eyebrows immediately, not like mine, immediately start to arch, and they'll be like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh yeah. And so I'll say everything that we're going to cover in this program, we use personally and professionally.
Yes.
And we keep those, streams clean for us, because to do anything else would be weird and just, it wouldn't be effective.
We're finally getting our act together. I mean, thank goodness.
That's a bold statement, lady.
I mean, in terms of our podcast and our video recordings, thank goodness we have AJ. And now Truman on the team. Like they're getting us set up. We've got,
this is like version 3.0 of our game.
And they've completely upped our game with our audio, our video, our lighting. What is that under?
This is a one of a kind coaster. This is a very fancy recycled, reduce, reuse, recycle. This is a recycled. Upcycled. Is that the fancy term for it?
Did that come from one of your waders?
I cut a hole out of, I already had a leak in a pair of waders, my neoprene duck hunting waders. And I said, you know what? I said, this is the perfect thickness of a material for me to use as a coaster. And look, listen.
Here,
nothing.
Hear that? I know. This is
just like I want to hear from you sometimes. Nothing.
I don't want AJ encouraging you on how quiet that coaster is. We're finally getting our act together in here, and
we'll have these engraved with the Wingspan logo. They'll be available for $24.99 on our website.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of markets.
Well, yeah. I don't know, how often is it coming up for you when you're working with leaders that in the labor market right now, it's so competitive in several companies where we're working with leaders. It's retention is getting hard.
I'm working with a team right now who has been rescaling and rescoping some of their major operations. It's an IT company. I'll just leave it there. And in the process of getting different teams stood up, they have had 4 mostly senior leaders who have been plucked and hired away by other organizations.
Yeah.
It is so incredibly competitive right now.
Well, which is a problem and a challenge to tackle in and of itself. There's this other problem directly connected to that, and that is when leaders look at who's still on the island, who's still remaining, they're afraid of exercising accountability.
Yep.
They're afraid of giving honest, comprehensive feedback.
Yep.
Because they're like, oh my God, I just want them to be happy. I can't say anything.
Yep.
Yeah. Which is now creating a whole other host of problems and costs for the business.
Yeah. I heard someone, I don't remember who in heck it was, years ago, who said something about, what if I can't do that? Well, what if they leave? And the person said, what if they stay? And so in my mind, that's such a great, it was about not wanting to invest in training because, those people could very well leave. Well, they could also stay though. And now you have untrained people in a role where you're counting on them having this higher level of skill set and they don't have that.
Yeah.
So in my brain, it comes down to not only if you don't hold person A accountable, might person A have actually lower job satisfaction than they might have if you were to support them in a healthy way. Person B, C, D, et cetera, in the team are going to go, well, holy cow, look what A's getting away with. What a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Yeah. And in an upcoming episode with Lydia Lightner, we get into that a little bit, where so many leaders they're afraid to quote unquote hold someone accountable. Yeah. They don't want to hurt someone.
Sure.
They've got some of these old, really outdated perspectives on what accountability actually is. So some of this, we jokingly call it baggage that, and that people have for good reason, because
They've seen
a lot of us
examples
or experienced terrible examples of what was called accountability, except it was confrontation or babysitting.
Yeah, micromanaging.
Yeah.
Or not the other way, just passing the buck. Sure, but whatever, good enough. I guess that's going to have to be it.
Or berating, more hostile. And so because leaders are thinking like, ooh, that's what accountability is, and now I'm afraid to hold someone accountable, and I'm afraid that they'll leave or they'll be hurt. Lydia talks about, and she's done an amazing job of taking our framework, Wingspan's framework around accountability, and exercising that, and how on the other side, a lot of team members don't want to just be comfortable. They don't want to just be mediocre. And
good ones don't want to be comfortable. Or
that's what I said.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't say good ones, though. I said some or most.
Yeah.
They don't want to stay, in autopilot. And how on the other side of it, they really, because she was willing to exercise accountability, they start to flourish.
Yeah, I bet.
And that, in fact, one of the leaders just went through, they saw your video in Module 5.
Oh, accountability.
In Wingspan Performance Academy, our digital course. And he was like, ooh, y'all threw me a curveball. And and it really meant something to him because of our approach. It was just such a completely different, which we hear all the time.
Yeah.
Completely different perspective, as well as an actual practical approach that not only supports stronger performance and promotes stronger performance, it promotes stronger relationships.
Yeah.
And it
based on everyone's value. Based on the importance of the role, how critical that is to the mission or the business, and that's what's. It's not just you're a valuable person on your own. Yeah, and also in this greater context of we as a team, a business, are going to do this thing. Yeah, if your role wasn't important, we wouldn't have you. You're really important, and that's where what I've seen is that folks come in from this angle of accountability, and they're surprised to learn, like you said, that curveball. Of I hadn't thought of it that way, about they're so important, and that's how come it's so key to hold them accountable.
I see where you're going. I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
Yeah, I saw the mystified look there for a second.
Yeah, well, it was like you said based on their value, and I was like, that's
the value of the value of the role, the value of how they.
You brought it back around, Ivan.
Saved it at the last second.
And so what you're saying is that some leaders, before they start learning and exercising the Wingspan approach to accountability, they're not holding someone accountable because
nice.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, I want to be nice. Or it is hard for some leaders though, like to be, say, a peer and then to advance and be promoted, and now they're the manager.
Oh, yeah.
Of people that not only were their peers, sometimes there's friendships, involved,
and still are,
and it is challenging, which is even more exciting that when leaders start to practice our approach, that their relationships get even better.
Yeah, and that's where, as the labor market tightens, when people go, "Gosh, it's amazing! I can have perhaps a good personal relationship with my manager, and we can still have an honest and full discussion about where I'm on track, where I'm getting off track. They can hold me accountable for technical and behavioral expectations." That sends such a strong signal, and also it's such a professional way to have this back and forth. It's kind of like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah.
I worked with someone years and years ago, and she was a fantastic person. Her name was Kelly, and she and I were friends.
Kelly.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I don't remember now.
I don't know.
Some about
Tyrannus
T-Rex hands. I want to say,
yeah.
So I remember one day I was walking down the hallway back to my office. I just talked to Kelly in the hallway just for 30 seconds or whatever. And a friend of mine whose office was just one or two offices down stops me. He goes, "Hey, man," he goes, "Mind if I ask you a question?" I was like, "Man, shoot, go for it." And he said, "So you and Kelly are friends?" I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's great." And he said, and you're her manager. And I go, yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, how does that work? And it was funny because I had never really thought of it as a big deal.
Yeah.
And so I stopped for a second and I remember saying, it's really clear which lane we're in when we're having a conversation. If I'm talking to her about her responsibilities to get X done or to coordinate with this group or that group.
Well, you made it clear which lane you were in.
Well, we both did.
Yeah.
We both were cognizant and we also were working to not cross, like Ghostbusters don't cross the streams and make things messy or difficult. So if it was work stuff, it was work stuff. And if it was, hey, what's going on with your brother? Or hey, she's going to come over and we're going to hang out, whatever. Great. It was also very clear that these were different and parallel lanes. Yeah. And that made it really, really easy.
Well, it's like when people are new to us and they're going through because every single leader we work with goes through WPA and they get into the videos with you and they're like, wait, so you guys are married? That's your husband? You guys are married? And then they're like,
poor you.
How does that work?
I will start a lot of programs with, so Cathy is
I will show them my glass of wine. No. Heavy drinking.
I will show them, or I will tell them, yes, Cathy is my boss. She is also my spouse. And people will start to, I'll see eyebrows immediately, not like mine, immediately start to arch. And they'll be like, what the hell? And I'm like, oh yeah. And so I'll say everything that we're going to cover in this program, we use personally and professionally.
Yes.
And we keep those streams clean for us because to do anything else would be weird and just it wouldn't be effective.
Yeah. Well, you in the evenings you do a better job than I still want to talk about work all evening. And so
like a dog with a bone, you just don't let it go. Like it's 7:30, my brain's shutting down.
So much on the plate, dude.
There's always going to be so much on the plate.
This is my passion. So
absolutely, and it's mine too. I also have a at some point the fuse burns out for that day, and then it's time to.
You do a really good job though at 6:30 in the evening when I am still talking about work. You do a good job of saying, all right, I'm spent. No more work talk. So you do a good job of helping me take off my work hat and shift gears.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So coming back to
we're actually talking about something.
Stay on track, lady. Holy smokes.
Well, so in terms of this, leaders being afraid of whatever, hurting someone's feelings or blah, blah, blah. There's another myth out there that I love to just punch in the face as we get working with leaders. And because they'll say, well, I haven't known the person long enough. I haven't built enough trust. And I'm like, no, dude, it actually works the opposite direction. When you are supporting someone with healthy accountability and of course they learn so many ways to do that with the Wingspan system. When you exercise that in your exchanges, and I won't even say exercise, when you start to practice exchanging this form of support, that is how you develop and build the trust.
Yeah.
That is how you build respect and strengthen the relationship along the way.
It makes 100% sense, though, that people who haven't had tools like the Wingspan Performance System and haven't been coached by folks like us on how to have those conversations, the only thing they've probably ever seen in their lives is, well, it takes 6 months or 12 months to really get to know somebody and to be able to, because they're waiting for those things to happen so that they can sort through this. And it's, exactly. It's organic and just what's coming in the door. And then, now we'll know how to work with each other. And it's, to your point, we just turn that around and go, okay, anything can be used as a great way to get to know somebody and to get to figure out, okay, how are we going to work together? How is this going to look when this kind of thing happens or that kind of thing happens? What's our deal between us and what we're each going to be doing in those moments?
Yeah. Well, and like you said, it's not, you said you started off with, 100% makes sense, or of course, that's what continues to be super exciting, is when leaders come in with those really outdated mindsets because they were told that, or they were trained with that.
And they experienced that.
And yes. And then we offer so much of the Wingspan system is counter to what they have been quote unquote trained, or what some coach told them to do, or encourage them to do. And then for them to see what's possible in what they create in their relationships with their team members is really just continues to float my boat.
I literally had this conversation yesterday afternoon with a leader I've worked with for a little over a year. He's got a new manager. He's pretty senior in his organization. His new manager is coming on site. He knows the guy. He was brought in from outside, so he got to interact with him on some calls, it sounds like, or whatnot. And this is the first time this guy's going to be on site at his location. And so I said, let's make sure we talk about that. And so I said, how are you planning to engage? We'll call the guy Bob. I said, how are you planning to engage Bob? He said, well, I was going to do this and this and that. It was a very, show him around, and I said, okay. I said, let's stop. I said, make sure you got something to write with. There's a few things I strongly recommend you begin to do right out of the gate. And so I stepped through things like, how are you going to exchange expectations? How are you going to devise and divide up, rather, which things get his attention, which things that he's involved with, which things he's just aware of, and which things you operate and he doesn't know about. It's just part of your standard work. And
how he wants to be communicated with.
Absolutely. So without going into all the details, we started to work through this, and I remember he just put his head down. He's like, "Holy crap! I'm really glad we had this conversation." He said, "Because I was going to go in it just like it was a conversation." And I was
almost like generic. Like, well, I'm going to go in there and be nice, or what?
Yeah,
like,
it was very much
a picture here.
Yeah, it was very much I'm just going to show him what we're doing. I'm going to have him meet some key folks. Oh. So.
First impressions, dude.
First impressions, and so it was very much a autopilot response. Oh, I got a manager, my manager who's coming on site, without connecting the dots of, this is my manager. It's a manager though who is in another country. They're coming here. This is the first time they've been here. This is the first time we're going to meet face to face. And so when I supported this leader with, hey, here's some things that if I was in your shoes, I would absolutely be nailing with this person. Kapow, 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 kapow. And we went through this, and he said, oh my God, I am so glad I had this conversation.
Yeah.
And he said something to the effect of, my original plan, now that I look at it, was pretty crappy. And I said, but it's just an indicator that you were approaching this from a place of autopilot where you saw this as just another meeting with your manager.
It's also that behavioral bubble wrap. It's like, oh, I'm going to show them around. And that's the little, dance that people will do in the early phases of a work relationship, is dancing around and looking for the decoder ring to figure out, like, how do you want to be interacted with, versus just initiating and and facilitating the exchange.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about how we're going to work together.
Yeah. And I distinctly remember, because it blew me out of my saddle, I had a new manager who the team I was on reorganized, and I wound up underneath this guy who, his name was Brian, really good leader. He had been in Secret Service. He'd done some really neat stuff in his career. And so I distinctly remember, I was on a work trip coming back, and I was filling up the car before I turned it in, the rental car before I turned it in, and I saw he called, and I remember talking to him at the gas station, standing right there at the gas pump, and he said, hey, I want to make sure we're straight on how we're going to work together.
Oh, love it.
And I was like, okay. And I just had never had that kind of conversation. And for me, it was just like this is how you can do this.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. And I just remember him telling me, here's what I'm expecting of you. And I was like, yep, check, no problem. That all makes sense. And then I remember him saying, I want to make sure I hear from you. What are you expecting from me? And I just remember being really surprised that anybody actually gave a shit what their direct report wanted from them. And I was like, what an amazing message to send that this guy, and so he, with everybody on the team, I mean, he had already known, I don't know, and worked with several of the team members. I and a few others were, my team was brought in new. And man, like the connectivity, the receptiveness, the trust, the willingness to go to him, even though he was my new manager. And sometimes there was that, I don't know, that kind of bullshit dance. Man, a lot of that just melted away very, very quickly because, golly, he showed up in such a strong way. It was amazing just how fast that team just came together. Plus, it was a team of just some really good people.
Because people will spend so much time. Again, I've got to build that trust, and they do it in a piecemeally passive way, and I actually have had many leaders do this exercise. I said, you are all of the time teaching people how to treat you, teaching people how to work with you. Now, hardly ever are you intentionally and deliberately and explicitly teaching people how to work with you and your team members around you 360. I mean, and not just your direct reports. They're like working to figure out how, and they're walking around and avoiding. And so just take the responsibility of communicating what the expectations are. And I've had several people like write a little how to work with me.
Oh, brilliant.
And with their preferences, with their pet peeves, like be willing to have those exchanges. And not be willing, actually have the exchanges. And that's how you speed this up. And it's not you're hurting anyone's feelings. In fact, it is, like you were saying earlier, is you are actually showing them how important they are and how important the work relationship is.
Yeah, you're going to like the way I'm going to land this plane. That also does is, here it comes. I hope this mic drop here. When the labor market gets tight and people are saying, gosh, I just got called from a recruiter or a headhunter and they're looking at me and I could be making X dollars more in this other job. When they stop and think, there's no way I would stop working for Cathy. There's no way that this other person is going to bring what she does into conversations, that kind of openness, the bond there, and that trust and that confidence, that's going to outweigh extra dollars here or a few more vacation days there. And that's where, in a spot where it is so competitive, the non-financial and the non, I'm not sure what to call that even, the non-benefit side of the job is unbelievably important. If you give people a really solid working experience,
the tangible and intangible benefits.
Yeah, I like that language. That's really good. Yeah, so the intangible parts of the job. How is it to work? What's it like to work with my manager? What's it like to work with my peers and my other team members? That's where, if that's solid, man, you don't have a whole lot to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. And you're already practicing the behavioral performance regarding how you have an exchange like that.
Yeah.
And how you support with multiple forms of support.
Yeah.
I do like how you landed that plane.
Bam.
Nice. Good job.
How'd you like that?
Tune in for sure in our upcoming episode of Leading Without the BS with Lydia Lightner. And good exchange today.
Good to see you.
We'll see y'all out in the arena.
Have a good one.